Hello, we are live. Well, I say we, I am live. Tomorrow, Griffin is going to be on the show and we're going to look at the Seahawks defense. Tonight is Seahawks offense review. And specifically, we've got fun run game stuff to talk about. Drew Lock, how he was schemed for by Shane Waldron. And also look at the running back performance. They were very, very efficient, and I kind of want to touch on that, talk about the offensive line. We also have some very, very fun press conference quotes, some interesting Jamal Adams stuff, and a Seahawks injury report to take a look at. Also, I'll try not to repeat what I did last time, where I still can't believe that, but I did learn a new word from that experience. Marco, love you too. Good to see you. Vajombo, yes, offense. I mean, we're only going to really look at the last drive in terms of the tape, but we have some data we can look at because, trust me, it was rough. Oh, Majombo, good preamble topic. I will get into that. Christopher, yep, coffee time. Apologies, I'm slightly late starting. I mean, really, I should be apologizing to myself. It's 2:49 a.m. It's just gone 2:49 a.m. here. Time for a coffee. Here's my coffee. Can you see the steam? Kind of. I don't know if YouTube just butchers the... Well, it's not YouTube. We don't pay to get full HD. I'm channeling also my inner Pete Carroll today with the backwards hat. It makes my forehead look abnormally large, though. Pete doesn't have that issue. Perhaps my forehead is just abnormally large. Right. Let's so how did I get my first opportunity with the team? Well, that is a very good question. Obviously, being in Britain, we don't play the same kind of American football or football that you guys play in America. We also don't have the same setup. So where you would play at high school, lower down, like junior varsity, isn't it? Varsity, pee-wee. We don't have that. So really, my first exposure to American football as a sport that you could play in this country was at university. And I briefly played at university. And then I was like, hey, I could also get involved in the coaching side of this. And so I got involved with the coaching side of it. And while the standard is nowhere near like the American university standard, or at least it didn't used to be. Now I'll get on to that point. It didn't used to be to that standard. What it does mean is it's kind of the first exposure for a lot of people to football. So in terms of coaching, you're getting like a young adult body type, but with like a pee-wee exposure to and young adult mind, but with a pee-wee, it's their first experience of football. So it's quite interesting. I was lucky enough to have a really great head coach at my university who've kind of, two great head coaches actually who nurtured my interest in it and really helped me develop my kind of football interests. And without them, this podcast wouldn't happen and I would be doing a very different thing. Yeah. And I say the standard isn't as bad as it used to be. Well, there's a couple of universities now. Essentially, the top division of university football is essentially Americans who didn't quite make it to the NFL, who are getting offered a degree for a slightly cheaper rate. So, we're talking Power 5 schools like, I think Marcus Mariota's cousin, maybe brother, was playing. I think that was right. But yeah, it's crazy. So the top division right now, you get teams who are stacked with Americans versus teams who haven't moved to that model yet. And, in 2-3 years, they'll get relegated from the division because there's 4 tiers. And the top level, you get teams who are kind of in the limbo of because it's happened so fast. And so the other week, a team lost 98-0 against the team of Americans. So, yeah, it's a bit broken at the moment. Thank you very much, Monjumbo. What's up, Jack? Good to see you. So, let's get my stuff together, shall I? That would be good. Bing, bing, bing. Go on, so that we don't get anything terrible happening like we did last time. Go on a separate thing. Any other questions in the chat? Kerry, good to see you. Kerry, I like your Twitter name. It's a good animal. I don't know if the Twitter name is because you like the animal or what, but yeah, Jack, the sidecar thing. Good suggestion, Jack. I'll talk about that. Jack, if you were there for the post-game show, Griff and I briefly spoke about one of the plays and how it messes with the linebackers. So if you missed that, I'd recommend going through it towards the back end of the podcast. Top of the morning to you, Henry. Kerry, I know a panda too. That's an interesting nickname. Like, interesting how it became a thing. I don't know why. They are cool creatures, that's true. And they do have a lot of fun. But, Jack, I will try and talk about this sidecar thing. Hello, Jay. Good to see you. All right, so please do like the video and share it with people and comment and get involved in the chat. As ever, I want this to be an interactive deal. 1 second, and then I will begin. Right. Henry, Jack, it's the pistol thing. With the tight ends in the backfield, yeah. And the running back behind. The cool people call it sidecar, so I've just copied them. Henry, that's cool you at the game. I'm sorry to hear that. Henry, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not from Seattle, are you? Or maybe you are. But either way, that's cool you got to go to the game. But if you're not from Seattle, that's extra special that you got to go to a game where that kind of thing happened. It was magnificent, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm sure there are good Eagles fans. Jack, honestly, I don't know where it came from. What I'd suggest is I'd Google sidecar formation. I know someone will have done it. Oh, my bad, Henry. I must have, I've got you mixed up with someone. That's brilliant. Yeah, it's cool how we have season ticket holders in here as well. It was the Milan thing which threw me, Henry. But anyway, right, let's start the show. Oh, well, I need someone to tell me to start the show. You know what to do. Let me just have a sip of coffee. That's really hot. No one's going to tell me. Ah, there we go, Jay. Perfect. Thank you very much. Welcome to the Seattle Overload podcast, where it's time to review the tape from the Seahawks victory. Yes, they won a game. We know they did. How great does that feel after they'd lost 4 on the bounce? But now they're 7-7, and they've defeated the Philadelphia Eagles in Monday Night Football, 20-17. This week, we're going to look at the tape from the offense's really impressive performance in the end versus the Eagles. How Drew Lock was able to march the team down the field, how the rushing attack was able to rush for over 100 yards at 4.4 yards per carry, but also stay very efficient with a high success rate, how the offensive line performed, and how Shane Waldron schemed up an offense for Drew Lock that it didn't push the ball down the field that much until that final drive, but it was able to stay fairly efficient. It was very conservative, and yet they still got it done. Tomorrow's episode will look at the defensive performance. Maybe we'll talk about a certain Julian Love. But first, the Seahawks injury report is out. And this is one of these theoretical ones because Seattle played on Monday night. They get kind of an extra day of not practicing, kind of. This is a walkthrough, so it's kind of theoretical. Now, the kind of real noteworthy news here is Jamal Adams' presence or lack of presence on the practice field. Jamal Adams listed as a non-participant with that knee injury. It's a day-to-day injury, Pete Carroll described, but it's kind of his comments then also suggested afterwards, with the beat reporters doing a good job following up on that, that potentially Jamal Adams may be shut down for the season. Here's what Pete Carroll said. He's still in recovery mode. He's been in recovery mode for months. He just continues to do everything he can possibly do to try to get right and just get back. Let me share this so you can read along. We've just seen it, the rigours of the season. It's been taxing and all. Every day is a day that we have to reevaluate, see if we can get him to the next day. He couldn't do more than he's done. He's been ferocious about the attack on us. And then there's time when we need to quiet him down and try to get him active and try to get him right. We're still in that mode right now. I just talked to him a little bit ago, and today is not the day to go. He's not ready for this day. We're just one day at a time. I admire everything about how he's dealt with this and handled it. I've tried to make you guys aware it's a difficult injury. It's different than a knee surgery. It's a different case for him. And so it's just taken a really long time. It's been really frustrating for him, but he's battling. He's doing everything he can to compete to get right. And he said how they kind of don't talk about that, but it's something we've acknowledged and that's a decision. And so far, Adams has wanted to keep going and driving. And then Carroll talking about how it's pain, it's discomfort. And then it's whether he feels good and smooth and explosive on it. And it's quite easy to read in between the lines of this. I mean, if I can see at home, if we can see at home when we watch the tape, that Jamal Adams' movement skills aren't quite there. They're not fully back yet. And Pete Carroll last week talks about a 2-year full recovery from the injury he suffered last year. It's very obvious that the coaching staff can see that, and it becomes a discussion of, well, how much are we willing to let Adams go out and compete and bring the instincts, the tackling, the nose for the ball to the defense than we are for a guy who's clearly not playing at 100%. Same can be said for Reek Woolen, who, he's made some mistakes as well, just like Adams has from kind of mental errors, and I'll get to that. But Woolen also, obviously, from that knee scope thing which happened in the offseason, he's not fully back from that yet. Now, I talked about the errors. Well, I imagine, and this is just me kind of reading in between the lines, but I imagine, you get into this stage of resting Adams, sitting him down, because of how the error happened against the 49ers, where he was pressing too hard to try make a play on the kind of dig route on the inside, which the 49ers love spamming. He was caught flat-footed, and then he lacked the acceleration to get back to the deep over route. And it's very easy to see how, Pete Carroll would ask Jamal Adams after the game, well, how does that error happen? Tries to explore the why of why it happens rather than the, you messed up, because Jamal Adams knew he messed up. Everyone knows he messed up. But really to move forward and stuff like that, rather than just beating someone up or getting aggressive with them or blaming them, you try and explore why it happened so it doesn't happen again. And that's what Pete Carroll is all about, the kind of getting maximum performance from each player. And I imagine the injury comes up because why would that sort of thing happen? Well, the injury has to be an influencing factor. So obviously he missed the last game. He's been rested through all the practices and he's still missing practice, and it doesn't sound good right now. And I'm talking all physical stuff, really. I mean, trying to make a play, pressing too hard, that's a bit of a mental factor. But I mean, I haven't even got into the off-the-field stuff that Jamal Adams did with that really unfortunate tweet where he went at a beat reporter's partner, and it just came off as misogynistic. It's just not good. It's just going too far. Obviously, he had a concussion earlier in the season. I'm not excusing that, but there's a lot more going on than just the knee. And also from a mental perspective, the knee takes a massive, massive toll, I imagine, or the quadriceps tendon, I should say. that what he's had to do to get back, and then the constant pain management and stuff, and the mindset, and then it not going quite how he'd anticipate or envision, even though he's pushing so hard to get right every game. It must be very hard on someone. And so you make bad choices like that bad choice. Not to excuse that. So, yeah, Jamal Adams not participating. Now, Seattle obviously benefited from the play of Artie Burns as the nickel, and they may need him again. Devon Witherspoon also out today with that hip pointer injury. And Pete Carroll keeps going, I can't imagine he won't make it back, but he described it on the radio as a legitimate injury, something that sounds really, really severe and troubling. That is a massive, massive problem, because while Pete Carroll, he likes to be positive about stuff, when he's using the word legitimate and describing how painful it is, if Spoon can't return to the defense, then there's a certain point where they have to consider just putting him on IR, him not being able to finish the season. And it kind of sounds like one of those injuries, that, again, hearing the way that Pete Carroll speaks. And while Artie Burns did okay, and, watching the tape back, you kind of noticed a few more issues with him, a few more unspoon things as well. He is no Devon Witherspoon. He's no 5th overall selection, rookie sensation, defensive rookie of the year candidate. So, I mean, it's just a huge loss to the defense, and the defense is really constructed to try and accent that nickel spot, be it Witherspoon there or Jamal Adams. And yeah, sucks. Now, D. Eskridge, another name. Pete Carroll asked if he was going to be back, and he hasn't yet. Kenneth Walker III out with a shoulder injury. I think shoulder is a new designation for him. I know he'd been dealing with an oblique, but I would imagine he's okay. After the game, Pete Carroll didn't say anything about him, so it's probably just kind of a rest thing, you'd hope. Then Julian Love, non-injury related personal. His wife is having a baby, so good for him. Hope that all goes well, or has gone well. And Quandre Diggs, a non-injury related resting player. So yeah, the big news is Jamal Adams and Devon Witherspoon. Then limited participation in practice. Nick Ballore, you actually saw him get a bit banged up on that special teams play early in the game. Jordan Brooks out with an ankle, or limited with an ankle. Again, covering a sideline route in man-to-man. You saw him kind of get stumbling at the end. He's been dealing with that ankle for a while. Trey Brown, same heel thing. Leonard Williams, same ankle thing. And then Anthony Bradford with a shoulder elbow. I think shoulder elbow is a new designation for him, but hopefully he can be okay, because a topic which will come up later, I really think Seattle benefited from having an O-line which just didn't rotate. They just played the snaps. Okay, so that is the Seahawks injury report. Let me catch up with the chat here. Henry, a guy spilled beer on your back, and the guy in front of you is doing the waving fly, Eagles fly all game long. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry. I hope you weren't wearing something which beer doesn't wash out of. Yeah, no spoon is really bad. I agree, Kerry. They need the difference makers. And that's the thing. This defense, for as much as they've kind of improved and as much as they've kind of reshaped their personnel, I mean, you think how it's basically a completely new defensive front other than Jordan Brooks and a few edge players. But the new kind of core, Wagner, and then the defense tackles. Difference maker-wise in this defense, Spoon just was flashing so much and not many other people were flashing. You got a bit of Leonard Williams flashing. Brandon asking, wouldn't Uchenna Nwosu have a chance at returning if we squeak into the playoffs? I hope so. I don't know how overly optimistic he was being, but very shortly after that happened, he was at an autograph signing where Aaron Levine he's with one of the TV networks, and I can't remember because I don't live in Seattle and I don't watch TV networks. Apologies. But he said how Uchenna Nwosu said he would maybe get back for the playoffs. But from a torn pec, that is very optimistic, and players have different ways of coping with these injuries because they're very tough on them. And being optimistic is never a bad thing in terms of your rehab, but it's also perhaps not the most realistic outcome. I'd be shocked. But obviously, Nwoshi's such a big miss in this defense too. Yeah, as Kerry points out, it can take 6 months for a torn pec unless it's minor. Yeah, we don't know the severity of the tear, but I imagine it's going to be a tough one. Sasha asking, how is Anthony Bradford doing generally? It seems like he's improved, but just takes random rookie L's now. Yeah, that's basically it, Sasha. There's just a few. I mean, he's kind of big and can look slow at times. And I think that's just one of those things where he's a rookie 4th-round pick. With this season under his belt, this learning experience, the way he kind of gets beat at times, he'll learn so much. And the other thing is, at times he's like a step slow, or he's not stayed square, to then, when a guy takes an inside move on him, to then see that there's a twist coming from the opposite side of the formation, from the opposite defensive tackle spot, or even further out wide. And I think that's something that will just come with time. You hope it comes with time, but I think he's done okay. Like, he's been thrown into the fire and doing pretty okay. Yeah, Sasha, it should be correctable. Like, the theory with this, I love what they're doing with the whole, hey, we'll draft day 3 interior lineman, kind of coach them up, get them ready to give them a year on the bench and get them ready. A bit like how Green Bay always used to do it. The theory isn't for that dude to start year 1. Phil Haynes is, he's been a disappointment. I don't want to scapegoat one player. There's been a lot of issues this season, but he was their starting right guard, wasn't he? And it was like finally supposed to be his time. And yeah, it's just not, they're paying him $4 million, or he has a cap number of $4 million this year. But it's just not panned out for him. He's dealt with a calf injury this year, hasn't he? And yeah, it's kind of impressive that, and then a toe injury. And I think he's still on IR, isn't he? So we'll see if Haynes comes back, but Bradford's done okay. And Haynes wasn't having that good a year. So, right. First up with the offense then. Let's talk about that offensive line. So I think it was really big in this game that for the first time in forever, Abraham Lucas took all of the snaps as the right tackle. That's the first time that's happened this season. More than that, if I look at the Seahawks snap percentages, I can share these with you. But if I look at the Seahawks snap percentages, rather than shuffling around the offensive line, which the theory behind that is we're going to put someone in, get them experience. It's proved valuable this season because Anthony Bradford was given chances when Haynes was healthy rather than just not playing. And now he's having to play as the starter. Jason Peters was working his way in too, wasn't he, as a right tackle option? Jake Curhan got some opportunities. But rather than doing that this game, Seattle had 5 offensive linemen take the snaps and no one else got on the field. So let me just show you. Abraham Lucas, 61 snaps, 100% of the offensive snaps. Anthony Bradford is the right guard, 61 snaps, 100% of the snaps. Damian Lewis is the left guard, 61 snaps, 100% of the snaps. Charles Cross is the left tackle, 61 snaps, 100% of the offensive snaps. And Evan Brown as the center, 61 snaps, 100% of the snaps. So obviously there's an advantage to the kind of rotation theory, the getting a guy an experience when he otherwise might not. They rotate on the D-line. Why don't you rotate on the offensive line? But I think at times the issues on the offensive line have been kind of communication, continuity, not passing off those interior twists properly, not combo blocking in a way up properly to the second level. Doing this mitigates those issues, or in theory should reduce those issues. It's the same 5 out there for all of the snaps. They know each other. They have more situations together. And it comes across to me a bit like how, this was the game that Pete Carroll was like, enough. We're going to play Michael Jaxon as the right corner until Rick Woolen actually reacts. There's a few other things in this game too, which kind of come across like that, just defensive game plan wise. This is kind of like, enough. Let's just play our best 5. No more messing around. Let's get it. Was Jason Peters hurt for this game, though? I should look that up. Apologies for the poor preparation here. I'll just double check that there was no other offensive line injuries. I know Curtis McClendon was inactive and Raekwon O'Neal was inactive, but I think Peters was just healthy and just didn't get on the field. And there also evidence Stone Forsyth, he had 4 snaps on special teams, so he was there along with Oluwole Timmy. So they've kind of stopped shuffling around, and I think they benefited. Now, the run game. Oh, that didn't work how I expected. Let me do this. How's that? Do you like my fancy graphic? I could use some work, couldn't it? I'll get there. I mean, that's legible. It might be hard if you're colorblind, but I don't know. It will do. So, this game stood out because of how efficient Seattle was able to run the ball. Now, the best way of looking at that isn't EPA per play. I think is rushing success rate. You can get more basic than that, and the fact that Seattle's running backs ran 102 rushing yards for 4.4 yards per carry, their running backs, 23 rushing attempts, was massive. It felt like Zach Charbonnet got a bigger workload, but this was the Kenneth Walker game. And it did help that Walker, on his 19 of those 23 rushing carries, he had 19 of them. He forced a missed tackle or broken tackle on 31.6% of those rushing attempts. So he was making people miss. He was breaking tackles. But I think also the... Sasha, be quiet. Be quiet. Hey, we can prove they matter with the missed tackle and the broken tackle percentage. But we're also talking offensive line here, and I think a lot of the time Seattle's offensive line hasn't been blocking the holes for the backs. I mean, remember we looked at that stat where it showed Seattle's running backs weren't hitting the designed hole on plays. Well, I think a lot of the reason they weren't hitting the designed hole is because the designed hole wasn't there. It was blown up, or a guy shed a tackle. Shed a block, sorry. So, basic efficiency-wise, good. 4.4 yards per carry, you'll take that. But success rate... adds a kind of layer of context towards that because it kind of factors in down and distance, if my understanding is correct. And I think it is when it gains at least 40% of yards to go on first down, it's successful. 60% of the yards to go on second down, it's successful. And 100% of the yards to go on third or fourth down, then it's considered successful. So obviously, if you're running in third and very long, then that could tank the success rate. But, I mean, that's kind of the point as well. So, on the season, Seattle's rushing success rate is 38.9%, which comes in 16th in the NFL. But there's a real distinct split where on early downs, they have a 38% rushing success rate, which comes in 11th, so a bit higher. But on the late downs, so late downs being third and fourth down, early downs being first and second down, on the late downs, they come in at 48%, which is 27th in the league and is just crap. I think a lot of this is Seattle also generally it appears Shane Waldron, if the run game's not efficient on early downs, he just won't do it. So I think the sample size of these early downs is protected. And instead he'll try and replace that with screens, quick passes, etc., etc. Connor, yeah, that is the standard definition for success rate. I need to check what rbsdm.com success rate definition is. Yeah. I can't imagine it's that different. And then on late down, Seattle hasn't been able to run the ball for anything. And that's been a real issue. Like when they've got down into the red zone, when they've needed to run the ball, they just haven't been able to do it. And that increases the load on Geno Smith or Drew Lock. Then in the previous 5 games, the situation has got even worse overall. So their overall success rate rushing the football has gone down to 37.9%, 22nd in the league. And their early down stuff, which I think speaks to more kind of trying to not establish the run, but I mean, I think it is a bit of establishing the run. I think it also is trying to keep, they face some very talented defensive lines and very talented defenses. I think it's trying to keep those pass rushes from really teeing off. I think it's trying to not expose the quarterback so much. But in their previous 5 games, they're before week 15, that is, their rushing success rate on early downs has fallen to 36.2%, 21st in the league. And on the late downs, it's slightly improved, 55.6%. So from 27th in the league, it's gone up to 17th in the league. But week 15, and they were playing an opponent who you might think, oh, well, Sean Desai is the defensive coordinator there. He's not very good. And when he was in Seattle, they were very bad at defending the run. So this is just the case of them facing a inferior opponent who cannot defend the run well, and they've just faced some tough opponents beforehand, and that's all this is. Now, that is part of it, but 2 things. Firstly, the Eagles' strength is their defensive line, right? I mean, Hassan Reddick, Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Josh Sweat. While they're not able to rotate as much as maybe they'd like, they play a fair bit of odd fronts more than the kind of even fronts Desai and Hurt ran in Seattle. They're committed to stopping the run in a bit of a different way. And in terms of, again, getting into the advanced analytics, before this game, so heading into week 15, if you look at Sports Info Solutions' total points, the Eagles' run defense graded out as the 18th run D. So just below middle of the pack, not abysmal. So this is still pretty impressive performance in my view. And the performance, let me just catch up with the chat. Okay. Yeah, so and the performance 52% rushing success rate, which is the 91st in the 91st percentile, really high. And that early down rushing success rate returned to being very, very good, 53%, incredibly high, 93rd percentile. And then they had a 50% late down rushing success rate, 55th percentile. So not as high, but still a solid outing. And I just think this is really what they need to happen in most of the games going down the stretch. And facing the Titans, they should be able to do that. The Steelers, That might be more difficult. And then the Cardinals, they should be able to do that. But for too long this season, Seattle's lacked that kind of, as these numbers show, but as other numbers show too, they've lacked a run game that they can lean on when they need to. They haven't been able to be balanced. They've also lacked the right amount, the number of plays to be able to run the ball, which something Pete Carroll's bemoaned. And 23 attempts this game still isn't that high. I think they'd probably like that to be slightly higher if possible. But ultimately, you have to pick up third downs, etc., etc. But this is much more like it, and hopefully it's a starting of a new era kind of thing. Now, one thing which stands out to me from watching the tape is how Seattle sprinkled in gap runs. So they had 4 plays where they had a backside puller on the play. That was basically Damian Lewis. This is charting from Sports Info Solutions, but they really got Damian Lewis involved as that kind of backside puller in the run game. And those 4 plays went for 31 rushing yards with a backside puller. They also sprinkled in duo runs, so power but without the puller. And those 3 carries went for 21 yards. So 52 yards on these gap concepts of 7 carries. So 52 of the 102 yards on gap concepts, and only 7 of the 23 carries. So maybe if they're kind of going to vary up a bit more, it would be nice. I also really liked how they were attacking the Eagles' structure. The Eagles in that odd front, they leave a C gap bubble, an area in the C gap, and Seattle went for it. Running power into that is a really good solution, and they were able to move the 4-eye, and Abraham Lucas was able to do that. So hopefully Seattle's able to kind of learn from this, apply this stuff, kind of build upon it. It's what they need to be able to win. You can't really win a game without having a run game that you can at least rely on. I don't think either Seattle has the personnel to do that. That's kind of my point. We've seen the offensive line when it's put in clear pass situations. They're not quite good enough to do that. Yeah. So that's the run D stuff. Let me check that I've covered everything there. Yeah. So now let's talk Drew Lock. So Drew Lock in this football game was not really given much. What I would say is it showed up to me, and again, he's playing a lesser opponent, but it did show up to me that I think he'd had more preparation as a starter, and it was his second week. He seemed to read through things quicker. He seemed a bit more kind of on it. Not that he was off it against the 49ers, but he kind of got to his reads a bit quicker. But he was given a hell of a lot of quick game, and he was not throwing the ball down the field. Notice here, his average depth of target is 7.4 yards, which is 33rd percentile. That being said, the Seahawks offense this year, Geno Smith is at, if you look at next-gen stats, 7.9 intended air yards, or per Sports Info Solutions, a 7.7 average throw depth. So he hasn't been able to push the ball down the field as much as last season. And I think part of that's offensive line. But this game, it was notable that Locke wasn't really given the downfield stuff. I mean, if you look at the play-action plays, one is run to hit like an out route. It's kind of like really to access the short to intermediate. One is for DK Metcalf on a deep out, so it stands out. And it draws a defensive pass interference penalty. But then the other 2 are basically quick game to hit the flats, basically like triple option, out of that kind of full house pistol look. And then the final one's a play action throwback screen. So they weren't even taking play action shots down the field. And I really was surprised at the lack of the play action deep shots, because you'd think that's a way for Drew Lock to get frisky, give him a schemed up shot. But I think part of the reason for them not wanting to do that is Lock's kind of inaccuracy is a bit scary, and last week may have dissuaded them slightly when he led the ball inside against the 49ers off a play-action shot and kind of wasn't as open as they'd have wanted it to be. It required a really precise throw, and then you'd like him to check it down, and he didn't. That might be part of it. But also, I did mention that Philadelphia front, and with their propensity also to play a lot of five-man looks where you're maybe putting... Remember how Brock Purdy got hurt in the playoffs last year? Hassan Reddick versus a tight end, speed rush off the edge. That's kind of how you unlock him in a game. So maybe they didn't want to do that. But I was surprised at that. But that being said, they still managed 0.19 EPA per play with Drew Lock. But I think a better measure, and I'd urge you to check out this measure out, is Sports Info Solutions' total points metric. I don't want to get wrong who developed that, but there's a really good article on it. Apologies for not remembering who to credit there. But Drew Lock was given a -7 total points versus the Eagles, which I think kind of describes more, gives better context to his actual performance and how until that final drive things were rough. I mean, you can get more basic with it too. What they had, they just hadn't done anything, had they? Welcome to new listeners, watchers. Brandon asks, is our offensive line really weak? Strength-wise, I mean, they seem, if the defense knows it's a run, they get bullied. Other offenses, even though they push the defense. I don't think so, Brandon. Yeah. They need to not be put in the obvious situations, but also Anthony Bradford is a 4th-round rookie, as we've spoke about. And I think Evan Brown is going through this thing of, I think he'd look much better as a guard. Like, as a center, there's some run blocks that he kind of, he almost overdoes them. Yeah, because the angles are different and you have to snap the football first. And then Charles Cross is never going to be that big mauling type of tackle. He's not finesse, but his weakness in pass protection is speed to power stuff. So, let's look at the final drive, shall we? Oh. So what's really cool about the final drive is there's a number of things that Drew Lock did, which were like, he was playing quarterback out there. He was changing stuff at the line of scrimmage. And he also was able to learn from previous plays. And it was a gutsy performance. Not only that, he was helped out by DK Metcalf, who absolutely took over the game. Like, in a way that, it's just special stuff. Like, the very best players do that, and the kind of lesser players will never be able to do that. It was kind of the proof of everything. So good for him. And obviously, Jaxon Smith-Njigba made a remarkable catch on that last play. Let me try and get... Why is that coming up? Oh, well. I don't know how to get rid of my toolbar. Oh, well. Let me just get my pen. What also helped on this drive is Matt Patricia decided to be really, really nice and play one-on-ones down the field. Now, he did try and disguise it a bit, but it was mental. I didn't understand what he was doing. And, man, that's a bold move from... a really bold move from Nick Sirianni to make that move now, because it just, as soon as anything goes wrong, like this past game, you just invite an even closer microscope. Right. So yeah, DK Metcalf did have that injury earlier in the year. So we'll talk about this play first because it's a really good play design, and this is something that I want to credit from Shane Waldron. So 1st and 10, 44-43 left in the third quarter. This is a schemed up shot. It's an example of how Locke can be annoying, or not annoying, but his talent can be frustrating because you know he can make this throw, he just misses it. So Seattle coming out in is that 12? Yeah. So 12 personnel formation. So tight end, the 2, and the 1 running back here. That forces the Eagles into their base, their odd front look, okay? It is base. Their base defense. And so it makes the coverage shell predictable. Seattle knows that they're likely to get cover 4 here and then cover 2 here, just from the front structure. And they call up the perfect play design, but it's very unexpected. So they shift out. You can see they're playing. They know they're likely to get cover 2 to DK Metcalf because he's such a big body. They want to kind of cloud him, double him. He gets clouded so much. You hear them talk about that. And here they're running a classic cover 4 beta. So the idea is this post route occupies this quarter's safety, and this post route is in behind the quarter safety here, and the corner widens and plays outside leverage. And essentially, as a quarterback, you have all of this part of the field to throw the football into, because while this guy can cover this guy, even if he's inside leverage, he can cover this guy, he's still in a foot race with no help right down the pipe. So as we play this through, the quarter safety is shallow. He sees this route and Locke looks him there, I believe. Yeah, he throttles down on the throw, so he's biting down. And there's different ways of playing cover 4, but Seattle will have known they were likely to get this. And Tyler Lockett has separation. I'll rewind it in a second. But Locke throws it like it's an outside the numbers throw fade. Again, Lockett does a good job of widening the corner here. Great press release. I mean, gets him on skates. Then watches as Lockett releases clean. Watch how he stacks him. So he leans back into him because he wants to create more room out here. So the corner can't just undercut. The corner has to widen back out again. The corner gets away with the grab, but Lockett separates with good hand fighting. And the ball is just completely missed. Now, he's obviously afraid of this safety. But if you just... I mean, we've been spoiled with Russell Wilson. We've been spoiled with Geno Smith with their deep ball accuracy. And this is just a flat-out miss. And I know it was wet, but Drew Lock missed some stuff like this against the 49ers in a sunny Santa Clara sunshine. So I think this is just who he kind of is at times. It's just such a bummer. And this was the play that afterwards he clapped his hands, I think, because he knew he had it. He just missed it. And perhaps in how he slid in the pocket, maybe, this is the right throw if he sets up here. Maybe he didn't really set up right. And Kerry pointing out that Tyler Lockett ran such a pretty route. He did. And there's a lot of discussion over, he did get tugged. Forrest, yep. Corner recovered. But good hand fighting with Tyler to separate from that. But there's a lot of discussion around Lockett and whether he's regressed, etc., etc. I mean, I honestly just think he's not being given enough opportunities. This is absolutely brilliant. Textbook receiver play. Just not the right throw. But a very good design. Very good design. Forcing base, knowing you're going to get from... Whenever you see this, okay, right? whenever it's base, and Seattle's defense used to be the same, they play cover 4 to the strong side of the formation, so here, and they play cover 2 weak. You also know you're very likely to get cover 2 because of DK Metcalf, but the reason they play cover 2 weak is because you would rather ask this edge to be responsible to drop inside here, right? Rather than asking this guy be responsible for kind of protecting the middle of the field and walling. It is generally perceived that a quarter flat defender here has an easier job because he can just bash up the number 2. It's almost like playing man on him, but like an aggressive kind of man in his face, rather than having to drop like to the inside of 2 and be responsible for a bit more space. So that's why they knew exactly what coverage they were going to get after forcing the look. Now, I have one more play, which is a good example of this, which is not a flash play at all. But it's another example of forcing them into this look. So now 14:02 in the fourth quarter. The early tug did mess up the timing slightly, but you can't throw it that far outside the numbers. Poop dog. So again, similar design, and I know Jay asked about this look with the tight end in the backfield. I'd call this, Jay, like a diamond formation, or you could call it full house. Where's my pen gone? Damn it. I'll play it. Oh, there we go. Right, so here we have 13 personnel. So that is a tight end. Will Dissly? Will Dissly? Is this Brady Russell? No, he wears... Who is that? I thought Brady Russell wore a number in the 40s. Oh, that's Will Dissly. So who is... Oh, that's Noah Fant. It looked like Will Dissly. Okay. Where's my... So yeah, it's 13 personnel. So you're, again, guaranteeing that you're going to get base defense. You get this odd front structure. What do we know from facing this? We know that the receiving strength... One, we know we're going to get base, but we also know that the receiving strength is going to be set to the only receiver on the field. So what does that mean? I know from base defense, 2 high safeties, this look, we're going to get tight will 6. So we're going to get cover 4 to this side and cover 2 over here. Guaranteed. So again, you come out in 13 personnel, you come out in this funky formation. You are forcing the front. You expect this base 5 down front, which they call tight. And you are forcing tight will 6. So tight front, bring in the will, the weak side backer. Know they're setting the receiving strength to the only receiver. So pass coverage wise, 4, 6. Really clever stuff. And rather than running the double post route that we saw last time, instead, yes, Kerry, cover 4 and then cover 2. So that equals cover 6. Instead, this is just triple option. Now, I don't actually think it's a proper read, but they're messing with this dude because they know he's responsible for the quarter flat. So he's responsible for this guy. This guy's going to run off here. This safety's going to stay in the quarter. This guy is the loser. And so they fake the ball. This guy's responsible for the 3, which is, I mean, technically here. But he gets depth because he's also responsible for getting under that. And it hits so quickly that by the time it hits, it's an easy few yards in the flat. It was 1st and 10. It's that kind of, we talked about Drew Lock's average depth of target. This is an example of an easy throw, getting him moving, which he likes doing. He's sneaky mobile, isn't he? This is the type of example of giving him just an easy play. Just easy play. Don't mess it up. Short throw. Stay ahead of the chains. Get into 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5. Nullify the pass rush and make them wrong. And what that also does is, I think that's Brandon Graham, but it makes him not tee off as a pass rusher much. Now he technically has the coverage assignment here, but it just puts doubt in the mind of these defenders. I've got you, Kerry. The chat delay sometimes causes slight communication issues. So this is another example of getting a really easy look for Lock just via what formation you come out in and knowing your opponent tendencies. Okay, so then, as I promised, the last drive. But we're going to sprinkle in, on the last drive, we're going to sprinkle in some plays from before. Because Lock, as I told you, he learned. He actually learned from past errors, and he played quarterback. So they went 92 yards, didn't they, somehow? Okay. Here we go. This was yikes. This was pure yikes. I think I tweeted, oh no. Yeah. This was bad. Why he throws this is, so we've got it's like double cover 2. Really, this guy ends up open, but he never expects such aggressive play. They're all camping on this short route here. And again, drive starter wise, they're expecting the kind of short throw to get them going. And Fant should catch that football. Absolutely should catch that football. It hit him in the chest. He just had 2 wider hands. And that was almost a complete disaster to the drive. Now, this, remember on stream we talked about bow and arrow? So, idea being, Jay, let me get to that. You're saying JSN is open? Yeah, although I always get confused with Tyler Lockett and JSN. I mean, Lock, essentially this plays out like man for Lock, even though it isn't. But he thinks this guy's backside, and really there is a window to throw that football, and there's pass rush coming, and you're in your own end zone. Obviously, you'd love to be able to read out that this is happening and throw this, but I think the read is fine, but the catch has to happen. And it didn't. So here, we talked about bow and arrow on a previous stream. So this is going to be the hitch route, or the arrow route. This is the deep corner. This is the over the ball route. This is going to be you'd think the basic route, so the 10 to 14 yard dig route. And it just kills middle field open coverage. It's Geno Smith's hit it. We looked at it in a stream. And this is really good from Lock. Sees this defender's down. Has recognized also, and it's similar to how, I think they ran this against the Bengals, similar to how they played it, but this backer here is mugged up, but he's interested in this running back, so he knows this void is going to be here when this guy stays down because the safety's high. So he knows he has the window for Geno's for Geno's. I did what Griff did for DK's dig. It's 2-man under, basically. They're playing man to man, and DK makes it hard on himself with the work he does at the top of the route, but it does separate. And he runs it more like a post or like a glance. But typically, this would be more like a straight cut. But because it's man coverage with the trail technique, it runs more like a post. And what a grab that is. And Lock just in time. So excellent design. Again, if you want to look up what it is, bow and arrow. Bradford has one of those tough moments that he's been having where Fletcher Cox does Fletcher Cox things. But Lock makes it not matter. And I don't know, just seeing DK make these catches, you just realize how good he can be. But also, yeah, great point, Kerry. So awesome work from DK at the top of the route with the stutter, the head fake to the left, and then the break back across. Now this is just mirrored, like it's basically smash, but you're dressing it up fancy. It's against cover 3 technically, 3 buzz, but this is just occupying that flat defender for long enough. Easy kind of chunk yardage. Get the first down. Lock's back foot hits. Fant's clearly open. The flat defender's occupied. Easy stuff. This is scary DK. Scary DK. Because in terms of the read, I think Lock just decides as soon as this defender's followed, he's throwing the outside slant. It's just a double slant concept designed to pick up the first down. And yeah, Anthony Bradford is drawing pass pro. And this is a clear passing situation. Remember, what was impressive about this, right now Seattle has 1 minute 24 seconds left and 1 timeout. So they got this done with impressive speed. But DK kind of gets jammed and doesn't separate much, and Lock tries to kind of lead it behind him. And also there's a disruption of the pattern, I guess, and this is a timing pattern, but the corner doesn't buy it at all. He just stays a square, absorbs, is right at the catch point, and somehow DK makes that grab. That's a kind of anxious glance from the quarterback. So this is designed as like a man coverage beater. So they end up playing one robber. So man-to-man here, man-to-man here, man-to-man here, man-to-man here. Robber safety coming down strong, and then post safety weak, and then man-to-man here. And the idea here, Brandon saying, I've no idea what he was doing in these next couple. Well, the idea is by cross-releasing the running back, you're running all these guys off the field, and then this guy has to run, and you're hitting it into this space in the flat, and you're getting some yak. I think there's not much separation, and the way the safety's robbing, and with the pass rush bearing down, I think, well, I don't know, actually. I assumed he was throwing it to Charbonnet, but that actually looks like gearing up more, doesn't it? Good to see you, Narc. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see from the end zone. Yeah, maybe he's throwing for Tyler. I just think he's throwing to the spot of the running back. I don't. There's no one really. But you see, what they do, which is clever, is this is disguised. So a lot of quarterbacks read the. He may have expected a curl route, Brandon. A lot of teams and quarterbacks read this backside safety. So typically, in a cover one, you'd expect this guy to open his butt to this side of the field and get into a bail technique heading at that kind of angle. But if you watch this safety, he opens his butt to this side of the field and he has his chest facing us. Why does he do that? Well, if I just pause it, he's trying to make it look like cover 4 or cover 2, right? So Locke sees that and he's trying to make it look like 4 and 2. But it's actually, as we've said, one robber. So he's trying to fool Locke into thinking it's middle field open and zone when it's actually middle field closed and not zone and man to man. So see how he flips back now to work back into the post. So possibly, if it was zone, possibly Locke is fooled, and if it's zone, then you do get a route in this kind of area and sitting down underneath. But I don't know. This would have been interesting. Yeah, I see... Roger, good to have a Twitter comment. Thank you, Roger. Looks like it was deflected. Does it, though? I don't think it was. But it does. The way it... I think he may just be trying to throw to the spot of his back. Yeah. That's a bizarre one. Anyway, 2nd and 10. This is yikes. This is yikes. This is NFL Windows. It may have slipped out of his hand. Yeah, rainy day. I agree. Yeah, we could blame the rain. So 2nd and 10. So again, crafty disguise. So if you look at the safety, he takes a step back here. It looks like 4. The way this player's playing, he hasn't got super wide. He looks like he's playing on the back, which he basically is, but it looks like 4 to Locke. But on this play, it's 3 buzz. So this guy's coming down into the interior underneath. This guy's a hook curl. This guy's a curl flat. This guy's a deep third. This guy's a deep third. This guy's a curl flat. So as we play it through, I don't think Locke ever knew. Yeah, I don't think he ever knew. But for him to try this throw, the flat defender's removed, but he's probably viewing this more as like a middle hole vertical player for the 3. Whereas, and why that's different is if this guy's back here, right, and he's a quarter player like he was disguising, then this guy's sticking more here and he's much less likely to get out here. But because he's the hook and this guy's a hook and this guy's actually technically more responsible for this, then this guy kind of sits down a bit more and is able to break into the window that Locke is also not throwing he's not throwing as the receiver turns. He's throwing it slightly later and almost picked, but just enough speed on it. And he has an absolute cannon when he rifles it in, doesn't he? Just enough speed in it that actually it beats that hook defender still, which is nuts because the space here is about... I should know how much the distance is between the NFL hashes and the inside of the numbers, but I don't. I'd say 7 yards. Someone in chat will correct me, I'm sure. But he still beats it, and Lockett should catch that, but it's a hard catch concentration-wise because there's a flash of colour. You never actually really see the ball until it hits you at the kind of crucial moment that you need to see it. It looks here like the defender got his hand on it, but I remember the replay and he didn't. And you see Lockett's annoyed with himself. Here's the interior struggling again with one of those twists I talked about. No, I don't think the defender did get the hand on it. He's celebrating like he did, but I don't think he did. I mean, the TV replay I saw didn't look like it. Okay, so 3rd and 10, 56 seconds left. We're in a bad spot. They're gonna throw their best stuff out there. They're gonna disguise. It's gonna be nasty. Now, DK Metcalf spoke about this in his press conference today. Let me actually get up his quotes. Because Drew Lock made a decision that was very brave on this play. I actually think it's crazy, but it worked. And he knew it was 3rd and 10, and he knew it was kind of approaching now or never territory, and he was going out swinging. So DK Metcalf today, December 20th. I had a curl route at first, and then he looked out and gave me a signal and changed my route. Just kudos for him for seeing that, pushing the ball up, and just giving me the opportunity to make a play. We ran the plays that Shane called. We just brought them to life. So, as we watch here, watch Drew Lock signal to DK, just tap in the head, the side of the head, and DK sees it, and he changes the route. So DK would have had a curl, but instead, you'll notice he runs the fade, where he catches the football. Why this throw is especially crazy, and you can see how the curl would have snapped off like here. Why this throw is especially crazy is I don't know if it's one double or if it's just that the safety starts on this hash and then is closer to DK. But he beats super tight coverage. And what a play from DK Metcalf. The concentration, the slowing down at the catch point, the holding his line to prevent full recovery from the DB, and the surviving of the contact from the post safety. That's amazing. Like elite receiver stuff here. I think this is the best throw of the drive, Dre. The JSM one we'll obviously look at, but I think this is the best throw of the drive. This is just gorgeous. Now, in terms of changing the route, let's just watch that again so you will see it. So he sees what they're in. This is the look they showed for man-to-man. It clearly looks like man-to-man, doesn't it? They've been showing this on this drive. And they'd been technically robbing to the passing strength. But I don't think it matters. You know that the post safety is likely to start on DK's side, so he can do that. So good work from Drew. You watch him change the play. Tap on the side of the head. DK sees it. And just perfect execution between the two of them. You can see Tyler Lockett here. He runs that kind of curl route that I think DK would have initially run. And poise here from Drew Lock as well to use cadence to undress whether there's a rotation or if this guy's going to drop out or if there's a different coverage. Seeing the final look, then here's the check. Oh, it's a tapping like that with 2 fingers. And then here we go. Really great work from Damian Lewis recovering there on Jalen Carter. That's just square enough. What a recovery that is. In the one-on-one. Yeah, that's a pancake. Yep, and great point, Jay. So this is great from DK. So he knows he may not have got out of bounds. So immediately makes the catch. No first down celebrating. Just sprints the football to the umpire. Might see it from here. There you go. So just poised. That's the playmaker at his peak, doing what he does best. Now, 39 seconds left in the fourth quarter. What do you think happened here, chat? I'll let you watch it through. First, watch Drew Lock, and then watch Tyler Lockett. Hold on. Let me play it through from the start. Just watch Drew Lock here. I hope you caught it. What do you think happened here? Play it through one time. So this is what happens when you make a signal and the wide receiver doesn't get it. And football always is a game of fine margins. If this had been a pick, I'd have been talking about another week of the Seahawks offense shooting themselves in the foot. Another week of the wide receivers not being on the same page with their quarterback. Another week of the receivers messing the hell up. I think the end zone angle best shows this. Look. Drew Lock is pointing to his wrist like a watch signal, like it's time. And he clearly expects Lockett to run a deep out route or maybe a comeback. But Lockett, if you look at immediately, Lockett's looking over here. Drew Lock is signaling here. I think that's Jake Bobo trying to help him. But Lockett seems to not be on the same page signals-wise. And remember, they've practiced less often together. But Lockett runs a fade. And we know that the signal for the fade, at least from Drew Lock to DK, was 2 fingers tap in the head, not 2 fingers finger tap in the watch. So here, this is almost a disaster. And an out route is a nice choice because what is this coverage? This 3... I think it's just cover 4. But he got right in the blind spot of the corner, and if this route had broken to this kind of out, which I think it was meant to be, it's a perfect play. Poop Dog, I don't think Lockett does seem off. I mean, this is obviously a bad play. But we've just seen Lockett toast someone and Lock miss him, you know. Pass pro-wise, how did they get on? Hey, look at Damian Lewis. Wow. Jalen Carter trying to go speed to power and, just power, really. That's real, that is. And then here, another instance of man-to-man from the Eagles. Yeah, Fletcher Cox is huge, poop dog. He's absolutely huge. Yeah, Bradford does go into some survival mode in instances, but I think that's very understandable against this type of front. I'm fine with this decision from Lock, right? Like, they're in empty. It's this same kind of two-man BS coverage. Where's the space? There. You got all these guys, right? So space is in the middle of the field. They have a nice kind of rub combination. And thank God it's not Lockett being the guy to set the pick. It's worked well against Dallas, this stack thing. And in a no huddle up tempo situation, hard to get motions done and stuff like that. Although they did have an incompletion, which is how they're able to call in a bit more of a complicated look. Lockett's running like a choice route, so outside and then in, like a diamond sort of pattern. And he gets the defender opening the gate and looking up here. The defender is able to recover with, I mean, that's kind of a grab. You're allowed contact, and I guess it isn't a grab. He plants the hand and then gets off it enough. And he went for quite a risky undercut. And how is this from an accuracy standpoint? Yeah, the defender just guessed on the route and did well, didn't he? Kind of took that away. And now, the play. So I'll play this through. You can all enjoy the excellent Jaxon Smith-Njigba catch. The fact that they played one robber. Oh, no. Is that one robber? What is that? I think it's just 3, isn't it? But with very aggressive... No, I think it's cover 1, but with super aggressive linebacker play. That's unusual. Anyway, here's the throw. Here's the catch. I mean, it's where only his receiver can get it. I still think that's a precise throw because ultimately there's a bit of contact at the top of the route, which kind of knocks off the timing slightly. Definitely a single high safety, Jay. I would suggest, chat. So what threw me, like, in terms of the coverage identification, this guy's weird, and this is weird, and this is weird, but what they had been doing is this guy is they've been doing this guy is the robber, this guy is the post safety, and then man, right? What's interesting here is this guy is the post safety. Okay, so we know it's middle field closed, but then this guy, rather than coming down into the hole, playing like 3 buzz, right? So curl flat, hook curl, curl flat, deep third. What's super weird is it looks like sky, so weak sky, cover 9, Fangio tree, cover 3 if it's safety coming down to the strong outside underneath the strong curl flat. Cover 9 if the safety's coming down to the weak curl flat like this. And then this guy's a weird, like he plays like a really aggressive strong hook curl when it's 3rd and 10. So I guess it's man with this guy as the rat being aggressive to this route. Whereas this guy's coming down to play man on the back, right? And then this guy's the spare defender, and he's looking for the crosser to Metcalf, I guess. I mean, they kind of, like, in terms of how they use their spare low hole player, they guess correctly. Like, they see that they're getting the slants patterns. But Drew Lock just goes, I can beat a one-on-one with JSN versus Bradbury. So, good job. What a dime that is. Jay asked, did the Eagles just get too cute on trying to hide their coverage to confuse Lock and paid for it? I think they just said, hey, you're Drew Lock, you're not going to beat tight man to man, and we're also got 4-man front who can pressure, and if we have tight initial coverage and we remove the first read, the rotations did get Lock on some of these plays, right? I don't think it's too cute, but I would suggest that in 3rd and 10, when your cornerbacks have been struggling and Seattle does still have JSN, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, perhaps, Matt Patricia, perhaps we don't play man-to-man on every single snap. Now, some of it's two-man, but this is not. This is giving us clear one-on-one. Now, what's really cool about this, chat, we've seen the catch, we've seen the throw, we've seen how the Seattle scored the game-winning touchdown. But JSN afterwards told us that Seattle tried this on the first third down of the game. So look at the concept. It's basically slant. Actually, let's draw that shallower. Slant, 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 okay, with a backside fade. Designed to beat man-to-man. And JSN kind of, how do I say that? He tacitly, is tacitly the correct word here? Let's, maybe not. He was candid, but it was done with, it was well measured how he phrased it. This 3rd and 9, first third down of the game, Seattle runs the exact same play, and JSN tacitly, candidly, with good measure, said, football things happened. What are football things? Well, I think football things are, I think Drew Lock didn't see the safety rotation. So, as we've seen, the Eagles like playing one robber, with Matt Patricia at least. And here's man. Ben Solak, remember we had him on for the preview. He said how they will play more man than you expect. This guy's the robber. So, what we know from the route concept, slant. Well, we could try hit DK Metcalf as this window gets opened. There's a space here, basically. Or we know if this guy comes down, we've got a one-on-one on the outside. And we can hit that against press coverage and a struggling cornerback group. But I think Locke doesn't see this safety properly. I don't think he even reads the safety. And it's early, it's the first third down of the game. It's a 3rd and 9. Tactful. Thank you, Jay. Tactful. Absolutely tactful. Thank you. That's exactly the word I was looking for. That's why I went to tacitly. Thank you, Jay. I'm still learning the English language, obviously, being from England. So, I think he just sees he's getting man and he's like, I'm throwing this to DK, F it. And DK catches the ball just short of the sticks. And the Eagles get off the field because the corner recovers. But it's just cool how football happens like this. So, if he had actually read out the safety, and he'd probably get sacked because there's some difficulties happening up front. But if he had read out the safety, JSN doesn't really win the red line. Like, that's a really, while the corner does give up some vertical separation, horizontal wise, he's right by the sideline. So there's not much room to throw that. Jonas, I can't ban people on Twitter, so all I'm going to say is watch it. Watch it. When you're back on YouTube, Jonas, there's going to be problems. One time in the preamble, remind me of a podcast appearance I did for the New York market, and I'll tell you a story. Okay, so here's this wide outside release from JSN, and it's too wide really for the football to go there, but he does win, right? Like, he does get vertical separation. And it is a good play from Roby to recover, play the sticks. So you can see the pass pro had a tough moment. They're playing man on man, which, because of this mugged up backer, it's 5-0 front. So it's man-to-man, big on big. Evan Brown has to deal with this dude before the backer releases, and that leaves a real kind of issue because Bradford gets inside moved by Fletcher Cox. And he takes chest. That's stunning power, and it's lucky Locke got rid of the ball when he did. But how cool that the exact same play, Locke reads out the safety rotation, looks off here just enough, and then absolute dime. And also, he credited Shane Waldron afterwards for reminding him, hey, if we get one-on-one here, let's throw it up to JSN. And he was talking to him in the helmet mic as they walked up to the line of scrimmage. He looks over to JSN as well, as if to remind him. And there you go. And it is spooky. I saw someone earlier saying how this is very similar to JSN's Rose Bowl catch. It is, isn't it? It's crazy. I saw a Twitter account sync them up. And, this is why, part of why I really like football, because you get these moments where, plays can be made, plays can't be made, and ultimately it's up to those 11 out on the field. And Drew Lock made some really damn good plays. Thank you, the man, Robert. Appreciate that. Sorry, there's too many names. But I appreciate the names. I want more names. But yeah, I'm too stupid to keep up with that. And also, I don't know if we'll catch it on the All-22, but look how pumped up, if we do catch it, we'll see. Look how pumped up everyone else gets on this. DK Metcalf is, you don't see it, but they all got so happy when this happened. And DK said that he was asked what his favourite catch was of his on this drive, and he said Jackson's today. So, very nice. Right. So that's how the offense was able to win. Able to eventually move the ball when it mattered most, but also how they were able to stay positive efficiency-wise, able to run the ball effectively, and all of that stuff. Yeah, Jaxon Smith-Njigba's ball tracking is special, I agree. And someone asked me, does he remind me more of Lockett or Doug Baldwin? Right now, there's probably more Lockett in his game. But I think honestly, he can kind of be a combo of the two. So he's his own player. Boring answer. But there's elements of each. And do you know what's crazy? He's 21 years old. He's 21 years old. That's always weird, given the Seahawks' penchants for drafting old dudes, redshirt seniors. But yeah, he's young. And not much, I don't know if it even matters, but not much snaps on his legs. He missed basically a whole year of that hamstring injury. Jay says, Bobo's ability to win at the line of scrimmage reminds me of Doug Baldwin. Yeah, he's like a 6'4" Doug Baldwin. It's mad how quickly he can snap stuff off. His footwork's insane. It's a guy who works. Jake Bobo's 25. And I think it's also a good reminder this game of, the Seahawks have really damn good receivers. They've faced some really... Dallas has such a good front, but they got cooked, didn't they? But the 49ers, the DBs and the pass rush, it's difficult out there for no matter how good your receiver group is. But this was such a reassuring game. And I think the final thing I want to talk about is, I don't want to talk about it, but I kind of need to. I don't know how serious to take it, but there's obviously after this game, this great Drew Lock moment. There's discussion over Drew Lock over Geno Smith. And I promise you, that's not what you want. You might think you want it, but you don't want it. Geno at this point is a much better quarterback, and I think Drew Lock still remains interesting. He has the traits and etc. etc. But let's relax. I mean, if we want to talk recency bias, do you forget what Geno did against the Dallas Cowboys when they actually called in proper routes? And he still had an insane time to throw, but they called in the right routes for their receivers, kind of unstuck themselves. Wouldn't you like to see Geno Smith with a successful run game? Yeah. It's a bit silly. But anyway, that sort of stuff happens. Who do I think is having a best season? Devon Witherspoon or Charvarius Ward? Very different players, Connor. Very different players. Like, Witherspoon probably has a bit more splash, but Ward is really polished. And I have a bit of a thing for the outside corner, so I won't answer that question, but you can probably guess. Yeah. Yeah, Brandon, I understand most of you don't think that. It's just, you see it. Yeah, this was like, this kind of game plan was very much, how did they phrase it in Gino's first few games? And then Pete Carroll's like, it's time to let the reins off? But this was an absolute training wheels game for Drew Lock. They were like, no, you're not doing anything here. You're getting the absolute least bad possible stuff until this last drive when they needed it, and they got it. So good for them. Yeah. So tomorrow, I will have, with Griffin, a tape review, again, shocker, of the Seahawks versus the Eagles and the defense. And it was really cool how there was a few more new things on defense, but the defense also has actually sneakily improved their over-the-middle pass defense in the 10 to 20 air yard range. So the areas that you probably think they're bad at. And we're going to kind of explore how that happened. We're also going to talk about other things. I think my video this week, let me know what you'd like to see from the video this week. I was thinking Julian Love because there's 2 plays from his past, possibly 3 plays from his past actually, that he didn't do right, but in these picks, he's corrected what happened on the other play. So he's kind of learned from them, and that's really cool. Jack, thank you, Jack. That's very kind of you. So please do like the video, comment what you'd like to see from a video breakdown. Follow me at Matty F. Brown. Follow the pod at Seattle Overload to know when we're going live. Follow Griff at C Mike Spin Move. And follow Ty at Ty Dane Gonzalez. Shout out to Ty for the quarterback the quarterback fit tracker, the Pete Carroll fit tracker. Pete Carroll 4-0 in caps. The Seahawks Twitter account tweeted it out, but unfortunately, they didn't credit Ty, so that's a shame. They should have done. Thank you very much, Shug. Good to see you. I think that's the new name. Correct me if I'm wrong. Brandon, yeah, Trey Brown, he is playing well, but this isn't the game to look at him from a positive standpoint. That he was slipping, it happened, it was wet. Get better cleats. I'm sure he'll have a more of a pop game though. Did I do a breakdown of him earlier? Maybe not. Jay asking, will I talk tomorrow about how we can better defend quarterback runs? I'm worried about the Cardinals game because Murray will run wild. Jay, they did a really cool thing against the Eagles. I cannot wait to look at it with you lot. They did a really cool stunt for Jalen Hurts. The QB run game wasn't really the issue. The issue was the Eagles have Jason Kelce, who can run zone, but they block down on the nose and then pull the center up, and it's nuts. It's just nuts. And they had a tight end running a backside option route, and that attracted the tight end. Now, the Cardinals might be able to do that, but they don't have Jason Kelce. Honestly, the Cardinals style of run game doesn't concern me because it's gun. They don't seem to have too many issues against gun run games that aren't 49ers. 11 personnel gun run game, fine. 12 personnel where you're sending bodies at the B-gap bubble like we saw on the 49ers tape, or you're just getting into 12 personnel is the issue, really. Or heavier personnel QB run, where it's Lamar Jackson and that kind of talent. But yeah, I hope the Cardinals game won't be an issue. I think they have enough now. But if you want something to Google on that as a teaser, pop stunt, so P-O-P, pop stunt, that should come up with some good stuff. Do I have a comment on Drew Lock's haircut? I haven't seen. Did he have a new haircut, or are we just talking about his haircut in general? Is it that part of the show that we're just commenting on people's hair? My hair looks great in the Pete Carroll hat. No, I don't. I mean, it looks fine. Jonas, come back to me on that. Monjumbo, yeah, I was thinking that that will be a funny moment. That will be a funny moment. I think Pete Carroll knows he has a winning record in hats. He just brings out when they need an absolute win. And if they ever made the Super Bowl again, got to be in a hat. Yes, that's part of what the video would look at. That's McNeil Webster, right? That is part of what the video would look like. Good, Jay. I'm glad that made you feel better. Oh, we're just like bashing quarterbacks' facial hair and hair, just body hair. Oh, okay, Jonas. Right. Okay, great. Well, that's a good place to end. So yeah, please do let me know what you want to see in the comments, and yep, share the video, and thank you everyone for joining. Great numbers tonight. I really appreciate you choosing to spend your Tuesday evening? No, Wednesday evening, discombobulated with Monday Night Football with me. Thursday film review with Griff, and then Friday we will have a Titans preview, hopefully with a guest. Goodbye.